Could you state your name?
Shane Trejo.
And what do you do?
I'm a journalist.
Oh, who do you write for?
Big League Politics.
And on election night, where were you?
I was on the night of the election, after the polls had closed, I was at the TCF Center in Detroit. I was a poll challenger, and I was watching the absentee ballots as they were being processed.
And did you witness anything that seemed out of the ordinary that night?
Yes, as soon as I went in, I talked to an activist leader who I knew, and they had said, we need someone by this, sort of garage door opening, because their cars are coming in and they're bringing in ballots. So just be on the lookout for different cars and figure out which car, where are they coming from. I guess people were telling me that strange cars are delivering ballots. So, I was told that they were going to be coming throughout the night. So I was sitting back there by the garage door opening, sitting there for hours, and nobody came with any ballots. So around 1:30 a.m., I start just going to challengers. Some challengers are leaving, they're disenfranchised, just wandering around TCF, not knowing what to do. So I start telling them that, hey, something's going wrong here. You need to be on the ball just in case they show up with ballots or something happens where they try to push these through, all at once. You need to be on the ball, telling people not to leave. And then I was also talking to the lawyers, the party lawyers who were on the ground, and they seemed very lackadaisical and not really concerned about anything that was going on, and not particularly not coordinating the effort particularly well. So I was trying to get the word out. Patrick Colbeck was another one who was trying to lead the effort and bringing up concerns about things that were happening, such as with the voting machines. But I was focused just on the ballots. So no ballots came from when I got there, approximately 10 p.m. until between 3 and 3:30 a.m. And that is when a white van showed up with elections, with the city election department, information, clerk Janice Winfrey, her name and number on the side of it.
When you say on the side, where on the side?
It was, not on the door, more toward the middle of the van.
Okay.
And it was like a small emblem. It didn't take up the entire side of the van, and it said Vote Mobile. So that is what was on there.
What did it say on the van?
Vote Mobile.
Okay. Was that on the emblem of?
It was, yes. And yeah, it had Janice Winfrey's contact information on there. And then they open it up and they pull out the, dozens of boxes of ballots. Tens of thousands of ballots were in there, and they came into the dead of night. And so all of the challengers who were there, who had been trained, none of them were really able to do their jobs. There may have been a handful of ballots that were being processed that were still on the floor, but for the most part, the ballot counting had stopped. So all these challengers who had been trained to go there that night to do the process were completely taken out of it. And then they brought in these ballots and then processed them the next day when usually it's always done. It doesn't go past that 5 a.m. point where I left. It's usually always finished by then. So my feeling is they postponed it till after that, hoping that they could process the ballots while not many people were watching.
But they had the staff to count these ballots when they brought them in at 3:30.
The staff was still there, yes, but the shift was coming to an end, so they brought them in right at the end of the shift so that they could clear out, and then they brought in the new shift. We even saw some of the new shift workers coming in as we left. So they brought in this new shift, and I think they were hoping that we would drop the ball and not have people there the next day, and that they could let all these suspect ballots through without any supervision.
So you said this was in the garage that you witnessed the van come in, right?
Yes.
Where is the garage in relation to the TCF Center?
Okay, well, when I entered one of the halls where the absentee voter counting was going on, you would walk in, we signed in, and then on the opposite end of that hall, there was the opening, and cars could come in and deliver stuff. There had been other cars that had showed up, but they brought in food or something like that, or they picked somebody up, and there wasn't anything that could be, any weird boxes or anything that could have ballots in them that I saw show up until the white van between 3 and 3:30 a.m.
And how many people did you say you saw get in and out of that van?
It was 3 people. One gentleman I remember was wearing a blue hoodie, and the reviewing my notes yesterday, the Wayne Board of Canvassers lady had said that she believed he worked for the city clerk's office.
And so this is in the garage of TCF. Is it covered? Is it open to the air, or is it completely covered?
Is the garage covered?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you go in, you turn into it, and then you drive up like a ramp, and then you get into the facility.
But it's all covered?
Yes.
Okay. You said it was a white van?
A white van, yes.
And there were 3 people who came out of that van unloading ballots?
Yes.
One wearing a blue hoodie, and one person who looked like they worked for the Bureau of Elections.
Or no, I think the man in the blue hoodie was the one that she said she had seen at the Bureau of Elections or City Elections Division and worked there. Mm-hmm. Then there was like another individual who was a little bit shorter, and he was helping with the ballots. And I think there was a woman there too who was driving. I don't know if she delivered any of the ballots herself, but I think she was the driver, if I recall correctly. But I definitely 100% remember those 2 guys, those 2 individuals bringing in the boxes of ballots at 3:30.
There are different types of white vans. Was it kind of like do you know different types of cars? Like, is it like your standard van, or was it a little taller than normal? Was it?
Yeah, I'm not a van guy. I'm not a car expert by any stretch of the imagination. I just remember it didn't have the minivan look. It had more of the look of the classic van. Mm-hmm. It did not have that minivan look to it. That's basically all I remember. It was just kind of a standard nondescript white van, but just had that emblem on the side.
Okay. Do you think you would recognize that van again if you saw it?
Yes.
Let me see if that's in one shot.
Oh, yeah, you're rolling.
Is that the van you saw?
Yes, that is the van I saw.
Okay. How sure are you?
I'd say 99.9% sure. Yeah, that's the exact emblem, and that's the van.
Okay. The individuals you saw. Get out of that. Does this look like the people you witnessed?
Oh, they're a little blurry, but yes, because I see the individual in the blue hoodie and then a smaller individual next to him, and they definitely fit the description of the 2 individuals I saw who brought in all the boxes. And those looked like the type of boxes that were brought in.
What could you notice about those boxes?
They had, some sort of like U.S. postal marking on them. It said like U.S. Postal Service on the side of them. Mm-hmm. And that's what I remember about the boxes.
Okay.
And then they had there was empty bins too that they had where they were putting in blank absentee forms, and those weren't being properly supervised, and it seemed like anyone could just come and take one. And that was a little bit odd too, in addition to the boxes that were brought in.
Right. We talked to you in November, I think the week after the election, and from my recollection, everything you said is exactly what you said back then.
Yes.
Is there anything you remember differently from November?
No, it's I think pretty much the same thing. I tried to just focus on the ballots. And not too much else, just to make sure that was, not something that went under the radar, not that was something that was supervised adequately on election night, during election night operations. So, that's just something that I focused on, and, that's what was kind of, 100% of my effort that night was doing that, was with the ballots and trying to alert people about problems with the ballots. So, my story is, the same, and, that's the best recollection I can come up with regards to what happened on that night.
Now you say you left about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yes.
When you, just in terms of timeline, so the election was the day before, right?
Yes.
And the legal end of election day was 8 p.m.
Yes.
Is that right? this is happening at 3:34 in the morning.
Yes.
You alerted other people to what was going on, including attorneys from the Michigan Republican Party.
Yes.
You leave about 4:35, and then later on that day, the day after the election, is when the GOP observers were kicked out of the monitoring the vote, and the windows were boarded up.
Yes, and immediately after I was done, or even on the floor, immediately after I was done, with my shift, I had sent out, the SOS to many different grassroots leaders saying, they're about to steal it. We need to have all the people down here, as many as possible. All of us are exhausted. We need, as many people down there as humanly possible. And so luckily, people did come. Hundreds and hundreds of people did come to supervise, the election and the process. And that's when the Gestapo-like operation was enforced against poll challengers the next day. And some people will say, oh, well, the poll challengers weren't properly trained. Well, the people who were trained were disenfranchised deliberately when the ballots weren't brought in. So if that's the reason they're using, that's the excuse they're using, it was because of their inappropriate behavior and possibly illegal behavior of withholding the ballots that resulted in the mess that happened and the delay. And of course, in my opinion, it was all deliberate.
Deliberate to do what?
Deliberate to disenfranchise the challengers so that they could sneak in these ballots that, in my opinion, are incredibly fraudulent.
So illegal ballots.
Yes, in my opinion, there hasn't been an investigation to actually audit the ballots in any real manner. So you can't say for sure, but all signs point to these ballots being illegal.
So I'm sure you've tracked the media coverage about this, since you're really the primary witness who also took the action to try and alert people because you recognized what was going on.
Yes.
The media seems to categorize this as either food being delivered at 3:30 in the morning or camera equipment being delivered at 3:30 in the morning. Could you explain why you think that might be credible, or why those explanations don't hold any water?
I mean, 60 boxes of food coming in at 3:30 in the morning, 60 boxes of camera equipment. It's just laughably absurd on its face. In my opinion, the media, by echoing these ridiculous lies that anyone can see through, they're complicit. They're enforcing the cover-up and the stealing of the election. So I hold them in as much contempt as I do the people who actually rigged the election and stole it in Detroit and other cities.
So, I think to be fair, you're kind of the Paul Revere of this 3:30 a.m. Biden ballot dump, and it doesn't seem like anybody's listening to you, like any authority figure has taken these allegations seriously. Do you have any explanation as to why no one will look into this?
Complicity. I think the Republican leadership, in many respects, they were happy to let Donald Trump lose and have the election stolen from him just to get him out of their hair so they don't have to deal with him, so they can go back to business as usual. So they all look the other way. They're being ordered by their special interest masters to look the other way, and Republicans are going along with it. The House leaders, they could have, we submitted all these affidavits, many of us, to party lawyers. So how were House leaders in Lansing, Republicans, not acting on that intel? How are they not aware of this? I think they're aware, and I think they're deliberately suppressing. People like Chatfield and Shirkey, the House leader and Senate leader, both Republicans, they could have used their subpoena power to bring in all the people who did this on election day, the guy who brought in the ballots, whoever else, people who were working on the floor. They could have been subpoenaed and brought in for testimony immediately after the election, but that did not happen. All that happened were, basically, I was able to give like 2-minute truncated speech about what happened before the House and before the Senate. It was the Republican the Republican chairwoman, took half of Giuliani's time to do a campaign rally for herself, and then people like me and other crucial whistleblowers, even ones that were flown in from other states, couldn't even give their testimony before the Michigan Senate. So I hold I hold the Republican Party probably the most at fault for what happened, because you expect this from the Democrats, but from the Republicans looking the other way and allowing it to happen and actually cheering it on and helping it happen in certain instances is beyond the pale, and that's why so many Republicans are angry right now.
Do you have any doubt in your mind what was in those boxes?
No, it was ballots, and yeah, there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that ballots were delivered. The idea that it could be, food, or 61 boxes of food, 61 boxes of camera equipment it's laughable that anyone would float that in a serious manner.
Are you the only person who saw the Biden ballot dump?
No, many other people on the floor saw the ballot Biden dump, have attested to it in sworn affidavits. So I am one of many. You call me Paul Revere. I like that comparison, obviously. But there were many Paul Reveres there down on the floor who were doing yeoman's work as the entire institutional collapse in our country. To see those patriots on the floor doing the work, fighting against the odds for their country was inspirational, and those guys deserve all the credit in the world.
So you've given a 2-minute speech to the Senate about what you observed. Has any prosecutor questioned you? Has any authority figure asked to talk to you about what you witnessed?
No.
No.
No one. I've talked to just media, media sources about it, and some random attorneys I've talked to have called me, got my information somehow, but I've not talked to, a criminal investigator about this, and so no one wants to touch it.
No one from the Department of Justice?
No.
No one from the Michigan Attorney General's office?
No.
No one from the Wayne County Prosecutor's office?
No.
No one from the legislature other than to bring you in for the 2-minute speech?
No.
So no one?
No one. Attorney General Dana Nessel sent a cease and desist letter to my publisher, Big League Politics, over election coverage that I did, kind of inferring that my coverage of the election and the recordings of poll workers or poll worker trainers telling prospective poll workers, how to disenfranchise Trump supporters, how to use COVID restrictions to disenfranchise pro-Trump poll challengers, this type of stuff that ended up actually happening on the floor when they came in and used COVID restrictions as a way to get poll challengers off the floor, even though there was tons of room. It was not a threat at all. Everyone could easily social distance in there. It was used as an excuse. And, Nessel wants to attack my work. She wants to attack whistleblowers. She wants to attack public officials who have the authority to actually do something about the fraud. She wants to attack them and intimidate them, and unfortunately, for the most part, it's worked.
Last thing, can you help me with this? So we'll add it in later, but this video. And 2 things. I just want you to tell me if this is accurate from what you observed about the white van, and then the timestamp at the bottom. I don't know if you can read it. It's real tiny. Okay, hit play on this sucker.
I think I'm in this video.
Where?
I'm in the video. I'm in it. So yeah, I'm in it. Me and another guy who was looking at the back garage door, we went right up to the van and started taking details down about it, like the emblem, the license plate number and stuff like that. So I'm actually in this video.
That's great. This is video that we got through FOIA from the TCF Center from security cameras of that night. Mm-hmm. So, to your recollection, this is the white van. Yep,
it's going down right there in that video. That's it.
This is them unloading
the ballots, all the different boxes, and yeah, that's right when it went down. That's about maybe 3:20 something, right?
Well, it actually has a timestamp at the bottom here. I don't know
Okay.
if I'm sorry if you can't see it. Let me pull it up here. There's a. It's in blue there. That blue text at the bottom.
3:26 it says.
Oh, AM or PM?
AM, yes.
Does that seem about right?
That's the time, yep.
And so in your belief, is this the van that switched the vote from Donald Trump to Joe Biden?
Yes, definitely.
That's all we got. Thank you.
Awesome.